Collaborative Strategic Reading, an action research project for 4th grade English as a second language students. According to the Center for Immigration Studies, in 2014, the nation had 42.4 million immigrants, which is the highest number of immigrants in American history. At the school where this study was conducted, there are 125 English as a Second Language, or ESL, students. The number of students who waive services or who are culturally diverse learners is even much larger. According to the school's principal, novice reduction on the state K-Prep assessment, including reading, is a school goal for the 2016-2017 school year. Last year, a large portion of the novice scores in reading belonged to our English as a Second Language students, or ESL learners. Looking at this table, the ESL group, which is circled in blue, had more novice scores than any other group at the school. Because the school has a focus this year on novice reduction in reading, a reading intervention time was added school-wide to improve the reading comprehension of all students and reduce the novice scores of our Tier 3 learners, which are our low-achieving learners. Discussion was held within our 4th grade team of teachers and the ESL teacher regarding intervention strategies. 4th grade ESL students became the focus in this study, so a reading strategy was researched to implement as an intervention. Research shows that creating proficient readers in a second language can be achieved when peers work collaboratively and cooperatively to negotiate meaning and understanding. After choosing an intervention, Collaborative Strategic Reading, or CSR, permission was given from the principal to proceed with the research. The purpose of this project was to investigate the effectiveness of the Collaborative Strategic Reading program with 4th grade ESL students. The following question framed my inquiry: how does using the Collaborative Strategic Reading program affect the reading comprehension of 4th grade English as a Second Language students? Because the school had a focus on reading interventions, my 4th grade classroom was examined. In the class, there are 9 ESL students, 3 newcomers, and 6 who have been in the program for 4 or 5 years. 3 additional 4th grade ESL students are in my classroom from another homeroom during reading. All struggle with reading comprehension. There was a need for a reading intervention research and program in my room. With the ESL population growing in our country, our state, and in our classroom, it is important to use research to guide our instruction. There is much research on ELL learning, reading strategy, and best practice. It's crucial as teachers to get to know the students academically and personally, study up on teaching methods, and implement new strategies in our classrooms. 2 of the instructional strategies that are recommended for ESL teaching are cooperative grouping and collaborative teaching. Cooperative grouping allows students to communicate with each other, which allows for acquisition of the second language. Collaborative teaching allows for more ideas and resources, the benefits of different strengths, and team teaching. Collaborative teaching, or co-teaching, allows the students to have the thinking and styles of 2 teachers. It also allows for a better student-to-teacher ratio in the classroom. Both of these benefits increases the odds of reaching more student needs. It is important for students to ask questions about new words and concepts, make comparisons, and draw on their background knowledge to comprehend. But if the reader doesn't have background knowledge or the ability to engage in the new material, they're going to find it hard to comprehend. This is especially difficult with expository text or informational text. A strategy needed to be implemented that would help build background knowledge and teach comprehension skills. Gauthier in 2001 recommends cooperative learning, discussion, and questioning strategies to enhance the reading skills of students. This technique not only improves reading skills, but also helps to develop language and listening skills. These strategies create a cooperative learning environment where students can monitor their own reading comprehension. Jim Cummins, in 1979, created the terms Basic Interpersonal Conversational Skills, or BICS, and Cognitive Academic Language Proficiency, CALP, suggesting that immigrant students gain fluency in BICS quickly, but that their ability to master CALP led to lower academic success. What this means is that students seem to master social language quick and academic language a little slower, both being very important for the ESL learner. This shows the importance of being very intentional in our instruction of reading, writing, and speaking. Collaborative strategic reading is considered a good approach to this type of learning. This strategy, developed by Klinger and Vaughan in 1998, is a model to use to teach comprehension strategies in a collaborative setting. There are 4 reading strategies with CSR. The 4 reading strategies are preview, click and clunk, get the gist, and wrap up. Looking at the CSR learning log next to that, you can see what the students are using to fill out as they use the strategy. The preview strategy allows the students to develop or trigger prior knowledge and make predictions in the text before they read. The click and clunk strategy encourages students to self-monitor and learn skills to understand words, concepts, and ideas. The students fill this portion out as they are reading, writing down unknown words and then using strategies to figure them out, getting the gist and understanding what the meaning is while talking it out with their group. The Get the Gist strategy involves discussing the main ideas and supporting details to improve comprehension. Finally, the wrap-up strategy allows students to apply what they've learned using metacognition skills. Then they write those things down. They write the questions that they may have, and they reflect on what they have learned and write that down, and then discuss it within their group. In my classroom, there are 6 students and then 3 additional students during my reading intervention time. If you see this chart, 6 students have been in the program for 5 years, 3 students for 4 years. The students in the ESL program in 4th grade have all been put into literacy proficiency level categories by our ESL staff. The 3 categories are beginning, intermediate, and advanced. The students in the study have all been in the program for 4 or 5 years and all on the intermediate or advanced literacy proficiency level categories as you see here. 78% of the students are on the intermediate level, while 22% are on the advanced literacy proficiency level category. Most of the students are pretty similar in their abilities in reading. The state of Kentucky requires ESL program participants to participate in the K-Prep state assessment after 1 year in an English as Second Language program. All participants who are required to take the K-Prep state assessment must take the district reading proficiency assessments. The pie chart illustrates participants who were required to take the district reading proficiency and were in this study, and what proficiency level that they scored on the district reading proficiency number 2, the one that was used as one of the baselines for this study. As you can see, we have 1 student who scored proficient, 3 who scored apprentice, and 5 who scored at the lowest level, which is novice. The procedure for the study began with consent and assent forms. Consent forms were sent home for parents to sign in the native language and return back to school. Assent forms were signed by the students in the study, and all forms were locked in a cabinet, along with the other data from this study. None of the student names were on any of the data. All students were assigned numbers for data collection purposes. All data will be destroyed at a later time. The students were given a survey with 6 questions about reading and reading strategies. This was used as a pre-survey and a post-survey for the study. 3 baseline assessments were used as well. First, the MAP reading test and RPA2 were given to all 4th graders. The results from this test were used in the study. The MAP test telling what grade level the students are reading on, and the RPA telling what standards the students have mastered. The third baseline assessment was a teacher-created assessment with a reading passage and 5 multiple choice questions regarding main idea and details and testing on comprehension. Then the CSR strategies were implemented. At first, collaborative strategic reading was presented through modeling and whole class instruction for a week. Then the students began to use the strategy on their own in their groups. To promote comprehension during and after reading, the students applied the 4 strategies: preview, click and clunk, get the gist, and wrap up. After a week or so, the students seemed to be mastering the strategy and how to use it. They began discussing as they developed triggered prior knowledge and made predictions. They self-monitored and learned skills to understand words, concepts, and ideas. They discussed the main idea and supporting details and improved comprehension. Finally, during wrap-up, they discussed questions and the learning that they had for that day. Students wrote on graphic organizers. They wrote questions, they wrote their thoughts, they wrote unknown words, and at the end they reflected on their learning and wrote that down. All of this was discussed within their group during wrap-up. The groups were monitored and annotative notes were taken during the process. For data collection, I used a mixed methods approach. Both quantitative data and qualitative data were used in this study. For quantitative data, I used the standardized test scores that I discussed before, the MAP test, the RPA 2 and 3, and the teacher-created pre- and post-assessment. For qualitative data, I used the pre- and post-survey, learning logs, and the field notes that I took. The results for the studies began with the baseline and summative assessment. 67% of the students in the study improved on their teacher-created assessment after the strategy was implemented. As you can see on this data table, for the reading proficiencies, 4 of the students improved from RPA 2 to RPA 3. 2 stayed the same, and 3 did not do as well. On the MAP reading assessment, 6 students improved on their scores, 3 students dropped on their scores. To analyze the qualitative data, open coding, axial coding, and selective coding were used. In the coding phase, charts were used to record data from observational field notes, the surveys, and learning logs. The data was analyzed for key themes and categories. In the axial coding phase, the data was put together by establishing relationships between the categories. I began to see a pattern. Lastly, during selective coding, a core category was established that could be used to represent the data and answer the research question. After reviewing and coding the learning logs and field notes, I assigned codes to my notes. Then I grouped my codes into 2 main themes. The 2 main themes that came out of the study were thinking strategies and cooperative learning. The students really seemed to master thinking strategies and began using them on their own. They also worked really well in cooperative learning. Overall, 6 students made gains on the teacher-created assessment. 3 stayed the same. None of the students fell on their score. On the reading proficiency assessment, 4 students improved from RPA 2 to RPA 3, 3 students' scores dropped from RPA 2 to RPA 3, and 2 students' scores stayed the same. On the MAP reading assessment, 6 students improved on their scores, 3 students dropped on their scores. Overall, the results showed an improvement in reading scores. But perhaps the biggest data that I received was through observation. Students learned thinking and listening strategies, writing about their reading, and collaboration skills. Through observing and using the qualitative data in their learning logs and my annotative notes, I noticed that the students were really begin to learn the strategies to learning how to figure out the meanings of words and how to think and ask questions while they read and how to reflect on their reading when they were finished. They also learned collaboration skills, how to discuss all these things as a group within their group, self-monitoring their own learning. The only role that I really played during this process once they learned the strategies was just to monitor and guide and answer questions if they couldn't figure it out within their group. Reflecting on my research project, I was pleased with the results, but I have a few things that I would like to do differently if I could do further research. One of them would be to do a school year-long research on CSR. In the amount of time that I had, the students did improve on their thinking and speaking and listening strategies and on metacognition. However, it was really difficult to tell if the improvements in reading were just on the CSR strategy. I would like to do a year-long research project to really get some good data on the strategy itself. I also think it would be good to try this on multiple grade levels rather than just 4th grade. I feel like this is excellent for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and possibly really good for lower grades as well with a few modifications. I also would like to involve the newcomers and see what improvements they make if I can get parental consent. After reflecting on my research project, I believe that CSR Reading Intervention Action Research needs more time to implement and study. At least a year, possibly even longer, and on multiple grade levels. The study definitely proved that the strategy helps to improve collaborative reading skills, thinking skills, and speaking and listening skills. By my observations, I was very proud of how the students had progressed in these areas and how well they worked together. When I presented my research to the staff, other teachers were interested in learning more about this strategy and possibly implementing it in their own classrooms. The principal and ESL staff has asked me to present this again at a professional development next year and possibly begin to incorporate it into our own classrooms. It is my hope that even if they don't use this strategy, at least they will begin to research strategies that are best practice for ESL learners. In answering my research question, how does using the Collaborative Strategic Reading Program affect the reading comprehension of 4th grade English as a Second Language students? I feel that the results to my study were positive. Most students did improve on the 3 assessments I gave. However, they weren't completely conclusive. I feel like there needs to be a further study. However, with that being said, the students did improve greatly on thinking skills and collaborative skills, metacognition, and reflecting on their learning. I feel like all of those skills are going to help their comprehension in the future.